Okay, so the Season 5 album dropped on June 5th, and ever since then, I've been obsessed with the Big Bird Mansion song, so I've been anticipating this Saturday since last Saturday. The inclusion of that subplot elevated my interest in Mantis Fact a ton. Oh, and the battle days exist as well. In a general sense, this weekend's episodes are pretty awesome, but before I talk about them, I want to tangent and talk about the San Diego Comic Con yesterday. In terms of info, it was in a word, we're getting Take 2 with Phineas and Ferb 2.0, as well as an unfortunate hiatus, likely after the Nightmare Nacer and Doofin Retrograde drop next week. The big standout for me, though, has to be the little sneak peek we got regarding the future episode where the gang gets turned evil by one of Heinz and Acer.
You're just in time.
That single-handedly carried the hype. Let's cut to the chase and talk about today's episodes, the battle days and Mantis Fact. In a general sense, they were more consistent than last week's batch, but as always, I still have my fair share of notes on both episodes. Like how the animation still ain't doing it for me. The battle days was highly anticipated by the community, because it's essentially a bonded episode between Heinz and Vanessa. And on that note, they truly did not disappoint. In fact, I actually find that they execute this subplot even better than I expected. The PNF plot is the one I have issues with. The gang basically burrow underground in order to find Linda's ring. And in ways, this dilemma really gives just passing through. Anyway, the subplot on its own merit is mundane, but my problem with it is its missed potential. They had the gang drill through one of Perry's tubes by accident, but nothing comes of it. Wouldn't it have been cool if the subplot was about Monogram and Carl trying to stop the boys from drilling into the lair? Kind of reminiscent to that one comic where Perry takes said action. Then, they have Candace, getting herself launched into Perry's lair too, but nothing comes of that either. Then, she meets up with mole people, and yet again, nothing comes of that. It just felt like they were waving interesting plot ideas in our faces before going for the least interesting idea possible. Also, side note, this could have been forgiven if they had referenced Scott the Undergrounder from Milo Murphy's Law here. I mean, they made a reference to the show earlier in the episode. The setup was right there.
Good thing we installed a tracking chip after the llama incident.
I did like Linda's little moment at the end of the episode, though, and it was nice to see another bread bowl hot tub mentioned. When they actually do it, it better be worth the wait. I just know they're gonna wait until the season finale. On a more positive note, the Doofenshmirtz plot was really amazing. I mean, they were off to a terrible start with the screaming goat gag, but they picked up real quickly. The conflict of the episode was really interesting. Basically, Heinz is disappointed that Gimel Stump has changed so much since his last visit, and is unironically upset about it because his awful experiences shaped his character, and he wants that for Vanessa. In an affectionate way, if you will. He basically has to come to terms with the fact that things have changed and be there for Vanessa, like his parents failed to do, instead of dwelling on his childhood. It feels like a social commentary, in a sense, regarding old generations and the difficulty of change. Highly ironic, considering that there are Phineas and Ferb fans that still think the show fell off after season 2. The script is flipped in this regard, as Doof is intentionally looking fondly at bad times in a good light. It's a bit confusing. The subplot was incredible. Firstly, I think they're slowly but surely starting to sell me on the Doof is evil again, schmuckerini. The atmosphere between him and Vanessa this season is much different to that of the original show. It shows that their relationship has developed in a positive way while not shifting its general theme. Secondly, the barrage of callbacks in this episode took me for a ride. It really felt like the writing team were bragging about how in touch they are with their show's continuity, and I dig that. The revival has a good share of flaws, but the continuity has been mega strong, both in of itself and regarding the original run. This episode presents that best. Side note, but I adore how Perry immediately stops beating Heinz the moment he sees what he's dealing with. Finally, there's the song. Same name as the episode. It was great. It felt like something you'd find in the original run. Biggest gripe for me, however, is that it's cut short and doesn't get a chance to conclude. Marginally related, but can they please start making longer songs again? The decay in attention span of the TikTok kid notion does not concern me. Forced perspective Western Town and Disco Sphere had no right being as short as they ended up being. Also, the song being cut by another screaming goat gag really annoyed me. Like, seriously, Dan, Swampy, let it go. And honestly, the moment would have probably been funnier if the scream wasn't there at all. Fun fact, but this is Doof's first solo song since Squid My Eyes from Milo Murphy's Law. Crazy, ain't it? Overall, I hope the writers are proud of themselves, because this was a great episode. I'd give it the true A treatment, but the screaming goat bumps it down to a reluctant A-. Close to B+. That's the recency anti-bias for you, but trust me, this is generous compared to my original evaluation. Just don't use the screaming goat gag again, and we're good. Next up, we have Mantis Fact. By the title alone, this episode had no eyes from me. It was not until I saw the synopsis that I began oogling over it. And the funny thing is that I was one of the few people more excited for this episode than its sister episode. Yet this one wound up being a tiny bit better. Good to know. The main plot has Heinz hiding from yet another creature he turned big. Or creatures in this case. It's giving Face or Fear in a way. Anyway, this episode also has a hand in making me a bit more accepted towards Deuce relapse. I swear. We've had more Doof and Perry working together subplots than him doing actual evil, and this is one of them. By the way, I'm not actually sure if that is factually correct, so I'll just have to check that. Anyways, the Mantis Fact gag is really funny. Doop snapping his fingers before saying the phrase involuntarily is so neurodivergent of him, and I love that. Also, this episode takes the clever route of managing to be actually educational without shoving it down your throat. They did this sometimes in the original run too. In this case, it's praying mantises. Speaking of which, did you know that praying mantises mate before eating their husbands? Mantis Fact, obviously they can't show that in a family show, but I'd like to imagine that they did it off screen. Sounds sick, but hey, I've been sipping over Finks for 5 months, I ain't foreign to that jazz. Anyways, I love the episode. Unlike the P&F plot from the previous episode, they really managed to make a mundane premise really funny. I especially love Heinz's moment with Perry in this episode.
Stay single as long as you can.
Almost makes up for the lack of him in last week's batch. The Backyard Gang plot, however, was the highlight. I'm sorry, but the Mock Macaws are creatures way too interesting to be created solely for this segment. I genuinely like to know who came up with the idea of putting them in this episode, because they're a genius. Now let's talk about what I've been waiting for. The Big Bird Mansion. Yeah, peak song, but I feel like the sequence is strangely animated, and I would have liked to see the kids wearing attire to match the rap vibe, kind of like the Spa Day sequence. The Baljeet shots in this one look especially weird too. Though I've listened to the song way too often, so I probably just had a perfect vision crafted into my head. The song still rocks, nothing has changed there, and nothing ever will. I really like the scene where they were all mocking each other, because it really does feel like it was all in good faith. They were all just playing around and none of them were really offended. Even Buford and Baljeet's banter felt affectionate. I adore the Backyard Gang dynamic. But we all know what really caught the fans' attention. The little Finnabella crumbs we got at the end of the episode. Reminiscent of Happy Birthday, Isabella. One of the top episodes ever. Good sign. It's not much, but I'm intensely surprised that it was this episode where we got a Finnabella moment. Mantis Fact is full of surprises. Seriously though, I'm not even big on the ship, and even I was disturbed by the severe lack of Finnabella this season, especially in regard to Meet Me in St. Louis. But then again, the crew said they'd deliver. They're probably just saving whatever crazy Finnabella episode until the tail end of season 5, so when all the Finnabella shippers die of happiness, they'll at least have seen enough of this season prior. The ending to the subplot was strange though. I know it was just a gag, but it was still attached. But what really had me was Doof. Like, excuse me? His subplot didn't even get resolved. Until next week when they confirm otherwise, Heinz is dead in my eyes. Rest in peace, Heinz, Doof, and Schmertz. True A-tier episode. The perplexing pacing and unsatisfactory ending took me for a ride, but it was a great episode otherwise. Educational, Finnabella, peak song. What more can you want? So, I'm not sure when the hiatus begins, but my best guess would be after next week's episodes. By reading their synopsis, I'm really excited for the Nightmarinator. Also, I checked and I was right. There are 11 episodes so far where Heinz either does no evil or ends on good terms with Perry. There are 10 where he just does evil. I combined Summer Blockbuster and Cloudy to be fair. Then there's one outlier. I have one last thing to say regarding the revival, and that's that we need more double-length episodes. The crew's ideas have really elevated since the original run, for both better and worse, because their ideas cannot be contained by the 11-minute formula without heavy condensation. And this week's batch, along with the previous one, have taught me that. We need more double-length episodes to do justice to these stories. And I hope the episode from the sneak peek ends up being one of them. It's such a good concept that cannot be wasted by the limited 11-minute style. But that's just me. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. Tell me what you thought of the new episodes, and if you want to see me talk about Nightmarinator and Doof and Retrograde next week, like the vid and subscribe too, I guess. Bye bye!